Hello, welcome back to Tips and Time Savers. I'm Danny Rocks. In today's lesson, I'm going to share 3 tips that will save you time and help you to maintain consistency when you are entering long data labels into your data sheet. Here's the problem. This is a list of company names that we're always entering into our workbook. We have 2 problems. It takes quite a few keystrokes to enter in each name, and problem number 2, it's quite difficult to maintain accuracy, to make sure that each of our data entry personnel is entering in the name exactly the way that we want it entered. Tip number 1 involves data validation. For data validation to work in this case, we need to first make sure that we have created a named range. So back here, I first selected the names, and then up in the name box, I typed in the name that I wanted to use for this range, company name. So now in data validation, when I'm down here, I have my prompt, select the company from this list. And there you go. I can just highlight the company. Saves time and maintains accuracy. If I try to put an invalid entry into a cell that has data validation applied to it, I get this warning that this is not a valid entry. Retry. So I need to pick a name from the list. First, I should go through and cancel, and now pick the name that I want. All right, there you go. Here's how we applied it. We went up to data validation, and in the settings we said allow from the list. Of course, our name list is called company names. We named that range. Here's our input message, and here is the error alert. Selection is limited to the companies in this list using the stop as the style. Okay, that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 involves creating a defined constant. In this case, I've defined a constant called TCR. Whenever I do equals capital T, capital C, capital R in any sheet in the workbook, here's what I get. I type in equals TCR as my shortcut, and it returns the company rocks. This will work in any worksheet in your workbook. Equals, and if I can't remember the name, use the F3 shortcut to bring up a list of the names that we've used. Click OK, and there you go. That is a great way to save time and maintain consistency. Let's create a new name constant. Here's what we do. It doesn't matter what cell you're in because a name constant is not tied to a cell. Insert name define. In this case, the shortcut that we're going to use, let's call it YTD, and what that will stand for is not a reference to a cell. Rather, we say equals and then double quote year to date sales report, double quote. And so now when we click OK, whenever we type in equals capital Y, capital T, capital D, we get year-to-date sales report. Fantastic, fantastic shortcut. Let me point out that if I wanted to go through and edit my shortcut so that, let's say I'm now a limited liability company, I want to add the letters LLC after this, it's very simple. I go back and say insert name define, but in this case I'll select the name where I want to change the entry. So now back here after rocks I'll put space LLC. I make sure that I still have my double quotes there. Now watch what will happen in all the cells that use that TCR name constant. They're automatically updated. So it's very easy to maintain. For our third tip, we're going to use Microsoft Office's AutoCorrect options. In this case, to try this shortcut, I created an AutoCorrect option. I started with an underscore and then capital T, and when I hit enter, it returns try this shortcut. This is how it works. Tools, AutoCorrect options. And in this case, I made it easy to spot. I like to use the underscore as my first character, and my replace was underscore capital T, and what it returned when I hit enter was try this shortcut. Very simple, very easy to save time. The advantage of using autocorrect options is that they will also work inside Word and PowerPoint. Let me illustrate. Let's switch over to Word. In this case, when I do underscore capital T, in Word, make sure that you next press the space bar, and there is your shortcut. If we switch over to PowerPoint and we do underscore, which is my shortcut that I like to use, TT space, there you go. Very simple. So there you've learned three techniques. You've learned how to use the autocorrect options, which have the advantage of working inside Word and PowerPoint in addition to Excel, defining a name constant, and also creating data validation with a list from a named range. I'll see you in the next Tips and Time Savers.